There it is. All right, guys. So we're actually going to start on the ground, believe it or not. So I want you to come down on the ground. We'll hold tight here. And I want you to start in a hands down, knees down position. Okay, just basic neutral spine. Go into a cat cow. If you guys don't know, I know you know what that is, but in case you need a refresher, push down into your arms. Remember, those arms are nice and straight. You're going to tuck your chin, tuck your pelvis, stretching like kind of through the mid back. I want you to breathe. And then as you exhale, I want you to bring your tailbone up and your chest forward. All right, so in that basic cat-cow, we're gonna just do this for about 30 seconds. So one of the things I did want to mention to you guys is that for today's workout, I'm going to change it up a little bit. Instead of going for reps, we're going to be going for time, which is exciting. I know, right? Very exciting. All right, give me 2 more here. Nice, and then on that last one, we're gonna come back into what we call neutral. And so if you need a refresher of that, here's a really awesome way, you guys, to check if you're actually a neutral. So we know when I refer to it, it means, you know, we're not sticking the butt out, we're not tucking under, we're kind of in between. But one thing that you can do to check your neutral is to just try lifting one hand off the floor and lifting the opposite knee off the floor.
Thank you, Ryan. I appreciate that. Thank you for staying out in the cold.
Whoop, hang on. Somebody sounds like they're in a meeting. Here we go. So one leg up, one arm, one leg up, the other arm up. You can turn it into a full bird dog if you want. You'll notice, right, if you're not neutral, you're probably going to be a little bit wobbly. So outside hip turns down, glutes are strong, pull in the low belly. Just give me like 3 more each side. So that basic bird dog. But take your time. Let's be kind to ourselves, right? Monday, first Monday of the year. That's fun. All right, and then from here, go ahead and take, you can see if my knees are here, I'm going to take them a little bit wider with my feet apart. I'm going to take my arms out way in front of me. I'm going to rock back hips to heels. I'm going to take a breath and I'm going to try to bring my forehead toward the floor. My goal isn't necessarily to have it touch. I'm just bringing in that in general direction. And then I'm going to rock forward to just a basic, like a plank with my legs look like they're like in a little frog shape. All right, I'm going to press back and then come forward. There we go. Move myself back. Oh, that's good. Cutting myself off the screen. I don't ever want to assume that you guys, quote, should be feeling something in a certain place, but what I would say for a movement like this, the goal here is to open up those shoulders, right? Stretch the glutes a little bit. So if you want to hang here with your hips to heels, take that forehead down, reach the arms forward, breathe into that area, like right underneath your underarm towards your waist. And then just kind of shift your arms side to side. Right, you might feel a little bit more of a stretch to your lats. We are going to work every single muscle group today. We're not going to do a ton in volume on every single muscle group. I say that because we have a new spin on some of the exercises. I don't want to overdo it day one. Okay. So it gives us somewhere to go. I hope. All right. We're going to get you guys up on your feet. So the next exercise we're going to do, and it's if deadlifts, put it this way, if deadlifts are not appropriate for you, you can always substitute with a squat. Okay. That goes without saying. But this exercise is called a good morning, and it's a really great way to sort of train. You know how I'm always telling you guys in deadlifts to hinge from the hips, right? Keep the core tight, flat. A good morning is basically you doing that same thing, but instead of having weights in front of you, it's your hands behind your head. So the emphasis actually ends up becoming more about your core and your low back, and you'll feel a stretch through your hamstrings. So if you're ready to come with me and give this a try, I want you to plug your feet into the floor, press down, hinge the hips back. And then imagine as you come back up that you're pulling deep into your abs, pushing into the floor and using your hamstrings to bring yourself back into that standing position. Okay, so that is your goal. And you can see like how similar this is to a deadlift, right? Notice on a deadlift, I don't come into that rounded shape. I'm continuing to press my skull into my hands to keep my upper back engaged. I would say that is one of the more common things that I see. Clients kind of, I say like checking out, like, listen, I get that it's hard to focus in on every single muscle in your body at the same time. And so, you have a personal trainer watching you, they're gonna watch and say, hey, watch out for this, watch out for that, specific to you and what you're doing. But so far, you guys look really good. Relax those shoulders a little bit. We're gonna go one more. All right, once you come into this hinge position, take your hands on your knees or your shins or your ankles, whatever you got for me. Knees wider than your elbows, and you're gonna go ahead and shift your knees forward and back. Keep those heels down. 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. All right, come all the way up. So really brief in the way of warm up. You guys. So we're going to be doing a full body workout. We're going to go through a circuit of 3 exercises to start. And if you came in late, we are going to be doing these for timed sets today. Typically, I do timed sets like with our cardio workouts, but they can work for strength as well. And it's a really nice way to me to sort of, if generally speaking, how long you're going to be working for, once you have that first round, instead of being attached to reps, you just observe how it felt to you based on the weight that you used. And then you can make another, next best decision on the way back. All right, so first exercise, guys, we're going to start on the floor. I do want you to grab your moderate weights and we'll go from there, all right? Sound like a plan? Great. So as I said, some of this is going to be carryover from what we've had the past couple of weeks with some new spins on it. All right, so we're going to start with what I call a bear hold. So what the heck is that? If you think about it in terms of like a plank looks like this, a bear hold looks like this. So it's the same thing, you're just bending your knees. So we're going to start there. I want you guys to take your hands down. We've got a 40-second bear hold. That timer's really quiet. All right, so let's walk through this. If we think about bear holds similar to like a plank, right? The only real change is the position of your legs. Now, my guess is you're probably going to feel this a little bit more in your core than you do in a plank. We did something similar last week, so that's what I mean by we have a little bit of carryover. But for right now, I just want us to work that bear hold, pull the lower belly in. Again, if your tushy's in the air, pull it under. Pull into that area right beneath your belly button. We're going to go for 5. Breathing. 4, 3, 2, and 1. How was that? Simple, but effective. Don't we love that? All right, flip over on your back. Last couple weeks, we've been doing a bridge pullover. We're going to change it up this week. Grab your weights. Feet up, bridge up, chest press. Simple. Okay, so you guys don't need much cueing there. I'm going to start for 40 seconds. Now, I started out with weight. I chose weight that's moderate for me, that I'm very confident I can do this exercise for 40 seconds. The other thing that I know here is that honestly is probably going to be too easy. Okay, so for subsequent sets. So since I'm doing 3 sets, and since you're doing 3 sets, I want you to just kind of observe how you're feeling with this, all right? There's the last one, put the weights down. Last exercise, you guys are going to come up into either a full kneel or a half kneel, or you could sit if you really don't like weight on your knees, okay? So from here, we're going to go into a bicep curl shoulder press. So you go curl, press, lower down. This is actually a hammer curl, if we want to get really particular about it. I want to talk though about the angle of your elbows, please, for just a moment. Try to position myself so you guys can see this. If you're pressing straight up like this, I want you to try to move your elbows away from your body a little bit more. There you go. Right? So instead of straight up like that, you come out to the side. Okay, so 40 seconds. All right. Pause here. While you guys are resting, I want you to take a peek at me. This particular exercise, I call this a no thank you bite. Used to say this to my kids, just try it. I know I'm gonna get some faces. I know I'm gonna go, what the hell are you doing, Jen? But I just want you to bear with me and I'll tell you why I'm doing it. You just watch and rest. You're gonna tuck the tail, you're gonna lean back. You're probably gonna feel a massive stretch through your quads. You're gonna pull yourself back up if you're willing to give this a try. Remember the good morning we just did? Hands behind head, back. If you wanna dive in and give this a try, feel free. So this is called a reverse Nordic, actually, and it's something that I have in my personal programs for my knee. So what are you probably gonna feel here? Big stretch through your kneecaps. Again, if you can't tolerate this, you could always go back to the good morning that we did during the warm-up where we were on our feet if you don't like this version, deal? All right, so if you're ready to keep going with me, let's just go another 20 seconds since we started late. So the goal here again is not to go into a back bend. If I have any yogis in here, right, it's very similar. You want to think about you're just moving your body as one unit. Gonna feel a stretch to the quads. Ooh. Love it. Now we're done. I see most of you guys took me up on that. Did you have a little bit of a moment where you're like, what is she asking me to do? I'm going to guess that a lot of you guys have never seen that exercise, but it's an excellent exercise. And you will put this way, if you feel very tight in your quads, I would not be surprised. And again, if you feel, I should say in general, like tight in your knees, it's a really great exercise to start to incorporate even as a warm up. All right, we ready for second round? Is that a yes? All right, we're going into our bear hold with a little variation. So last week we did those extensions. That's what we're going to find ourselves again this week. So let's set ourselves up. Get my timer going again. All right, you ready? All right. So bear hold is your option to just say, okay, Jen, I'm chilling there. I'm not doing anything different. If you're doing the leg extension with me, I want you to think about pushing the foot back and coming back to center. The goal here, like if you had a yoga block on your lower back, my hope is that you could do this without it falling off. Right? So if you find that your hips tend to kind of pitch up, keep yourself accountable. Right? Just a couple inches of space between the knee and the floor. Tell me I'm wrong. You got core, you got shoulders. You guys can take a break if you didn't hear that. Core, shoulders, hips, all the things. All right, flip over onto your back. You've got your chest press bridge, sort of like a decline press. I'm going to increase my weight personally. Try to get myself down to the floor a little quicker. Quick note. Two things I want you to check as you're doing this. I know you have you can do a chest press with your eyes closed, literally. But I want you to make sure, okay, that you're pressing the weight up, the elbows come down, they're not up in your neck. So your elbow is south of your shoulders, right? Kind of almost if somebody were looking at you from above, they would notice that your arms almost look like an arrow. That's the last one. We got our bicep curls and shoulder presses. All right, so half kneel, full kneel, whatever you want to give me for this. Right, Leo. Hear this, but before I stepped into class, I fed the dogs. Thought I gave myself adequate time, for them to go out, do their thing, me get myself back in. Of course, one of them is lollygagging in the woods and now wants to be let back in, but we're gonna make it through this circuit. I'm gonna run out into the freezing cold and let him back in. Like, come on, dude. Last one. All right, there's your break. Did you go? Reverse Nordic if you're taking me up on it. Option A, hands over chest. Option B, hands behind head. Option C, arms in front of you. Okay, if you notice my feet, you guys, can you see my feet? Okay, so if you have any like anxiety about, oh, I don't want to go that far, try tucking your feet under because it will naturally put the brakes on. Plus, it serves as a really great stretch for the soles of your feet, arches of your feet. Pointed toes is going to stretch the tops of those ankles, but it allows me to increase my range of motion. As you're becoming more confident, which I hope you are, use your legs to pull yourself back up. Last one. All right, take a breather. I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a break. I'm gonna run outside in the freezing cold and let my dog in. Barb, are you in here? I saw you come in. I should let you take this one over. I'm literally gonna let you guys start on your own. I'm gonna miss that first exercise. Do you remember what it was? All right, the bear hold. You have to do this on your own. Give me a thumbs up if you're ready. You'll time me how fast I can do this. All right, I'm gonna be off screen. I know you guys can do this. All right, ready? Hands on the ground, knees on the ground. Go. Seconds to spare. Love it. All right, that's the time. How'd you do? All right, I can't wait to see where we take that one. There's so many different directions we can go. All right, my friends, we're gonna come back down on your back. You're gonna go into your chest press bridge. I told you guys before, remember elbows are kind of down along the side of your body. In that in-between space between your lowest rib and your shoulder, hips are up. The other thing I did mean to mention is when you're pressing the weight over your chest, try not to tuck your chin. You want that chin to be open. If for some reason your head is coming away from the floor, you feel this in your neck, it is going to be a good idea for you to put a little something under your head. Nice. All right, bicep curl, shoulder press. Third round is the charm. All right, so core strong, shoulders stacked over hips. Let's do it. 1, 2. All right, so generally speaking, your bicep curl, like if the palms are in, hammer curl is a lot easier than a traditional bicep curl. So just keep note of that as you're doing this. This is the first time we're doing this workout. You're like, oh, bicep curls a little bit easy, but the shoulder is not so much. I'm going to be cueing to you guys to work on the part of this combination movement that where you feel like you need a little work or maybe room for improvement. Here's the last one. So what I mean by that, and I did this, I can't remember if it was last week. I honestly, they're all starting to blend together. But sometimes I'll do it like, say, we'll do 2 bicep curls per 1 shoulder press if your shoulders are petering out in that 40 seconds. So how did we do? First circuit behind us, not bad, right? So a little bit of lower body, not a ton. All right. Definitely a different spin. I'm just checking out my notes here. All right, so we're grab a sip of water. We're going to move on to our next circuit. Okay. Cool. Love this. All right. So flip over on, or rather, sorry, come onto your feet. We got 3 more exercises to go. All right. So first things first, something called a single leg squat. Now there's a lot of different variations you guys you can do with a single leg squat. I would say the most what's the word I'm looking for? The most simple one would be to think about, okay, I'm just pressing through one leg. Like this foot is so light, I'm just really letting this foot on to do the work. That's absolutely one way to do it. You can do it from a chair. There's another variation where you don't need any equipment, although from a perspective of your knees, you might be like, my knees aren't supposed to go that way. You are fine. We've told each other a lot of stories around where our knees should and shouldn't go, but the truth of the matter is more of that has to do with your ankle mobility than anything else. So hear me out. So my forward leg is my working leg. My backward leg is just serving as a guide, like a little bit of a kickstand. So you know this from the B stance deadlift where we do this. For this version of the single leg squat, I'm gonna literally, it's almost as if I'm like gonna kneel down to the floor. I'm gonna kneel down to the floor. You can see that this is not a lunge. If I were doing a lunge, my leg would be way back. So you have an option. If you're like, I don't know if my knees will do that, then either do it with the foot in front of you. It'll be a little easier to manage, a little less stressful. The other thing I would say to you is let's, instead of holding the weight high on the body, hold it down by your side or use nothing at all for our first set. All right, let's do it. I'm actually going to just do my body weight. This has been a while since I've done these as well. So I'm turning myself to the side so you guys can see. You can see that my knee literally is like right at my ankle. So it is different than a lunge, harder than a lunge. And what I'm kind of trying to do, I don't know if you guys can see this with my foot, but I'm almost trying to float my foot. Like I'm almost trying to say, okay, I'm not going to put my foot down on the ground. I'm actually just going to think about kneeling down. Like I'm kneeling down to get something off the floor. My guess is that your working leg is feeling this right about now. Am I right? Thank you. Thank you, Lori. We do. And speaking of at the beginning of class, when I said I have all these people that I have to get back to, Lori is one of them. The list a little long over the 4 days. I was like, I gotta catch up with these people. Anyway, if I could clone myself, I would. All right. Now, the reason I don't want to have my back to you forever, but I'm just doing it so you can see. If I face you, you won't be able to see these angles, I don't think, as well. So again, this is my side that is not as strong. So here I am, you can see I'm holding actually onto the doorknob, which is kind of nice. But make no mistake, I'm working. Get tired yet? Done. How'd you do? Nice. All right. Next exercise, we're going to come down to the ground. Now, you've done this with me before. It's called a bird dog. We've done a bird dog fly before. We're going to do something called a bird dog row today. So what I want you guys to do is I want you to grab some medium to maybe heavy weights, depending on how adventurous you feel. And I want you to put them in front of you just like so, okay? Think if Renegade Row and a bear squat or a bird dog had a baby, that's what you're looking at. So I've got my weights down. I can see them literally right underneath my hands. My shoulders are over my wrists. I like to actually put my resting hand on the edge of the weight. You can hold on, or you could even literally use a yoga block. It's fine. I just want it slightly elevated. Next step you're going to do, you're going to lift a leg. Whatever leg you're lifting is the arm that's going to be lifting the weight. Okay, excuse me, I didn't say that correctly. Whatever leg is lifted, the opposite arm is lifting the weight. So from here, we push down. I lift one leg, I take the opposite arm and I pull to my hip for my row. Sorry, I almost lost you there. Now you might find as you do this, you guys, and starting the timer now that you have it. I'm starting the timer, bringing it to the hip. I swear this will be more fluid the next time we do it, right? It's always the first time you do a new program. It can be a little clunky, a little bit more explanation, but this is one of the arguments for doing something more than once. Right? So you can see where you get better. And I would say for today's workout, really it is just about like, okay, what weight do I want to use if I know I'm going to be moving for 3 rounds of 40 seconds on these exercises? And it's in a lot of ways where you have to coach yourself up. take a moment and we're gonna go ahead and switch sides. If you need a second, just kind of take the weight off your hands, off your shoulders. So when we did this warm up today, I was saying to you guys, you know, you want to make sure that you're staying neutral. This exercise you would not be able to do well if you're, you know, sticking your tushy in the air. So as we go back into it, set yourself up. Here's the start. Bring the weight to the hip. There's your row. Take your time, right? We're not giving we're not giving away gold stars for most reps completed, right? We want to move with intention. Feel the muscles that we're working, which in this case is your hip of your down leg. You probably feel in your glutes. You probably feel in your core. Might be feeling your back. Maybe a little shoulder, but hopefully not too much. On our feet, my friends, we've got one more exercise to do. So I want you to imagine you've got rows. You guys know how, you know, rows, and you also know tricep extensions. Now, typically with a tricep extension, we go like very light, lot lighter weight. And I'll ask you to kind of get your elbow up, pin it to the side of your body. I still want you to pin your elbow to the side of your body, but it can be a little bit lower. Okay, and you're going to try to move your tricep from there. You're shortening the range of motion on this, but I would encourage you to go maybe a little heavier. Just try it. Worst case scenario, gotta go lighter. Let's try it. All right, here we go. So I'm still working with my moderate weights. All right, and I'm working a lower angle tricep kickback. So sometimes I will do this exercise with a little bit of a swing to it, especially if I'm supersetting it with a row where I need heavier. So admittedly, I'm using a little momentum with this, but I'm okay with that because I can still feel my triceps doing the work. Remember, what your triceps do in your body is extend your arm. Counterpart to your bicep. Well, we did bicep. Just changing up the angles. How'd we do? We're gonna do it again. All right, so we're gonna start from the single leg squat, whatever variation you happen to be choosing, whether you're going for a lightweight, no weight, or a moderate dumbbell. I'm gonna use a dumbbell on mine this time. And I'm holding it on my working side. And I'm actually have my hand on the wall adjacent to me because I'm really trying to focus on that. A little bit of balance involved too. Not a beginner exercise. Or if you feel like this one is out of the cards for you, I would say just do this version. Okay, do this version. You guys, if you know Bulgarian split squats, these are, I don't know which ones are worse. I find these harder, to be honest, but my hope is that I'll see improvement over the next month. We'll see. Five seconds. Tell you that first rep, I have like kind of a mental pep talk with myself, like, dang, that's hard. Slow, slow, slow. Remember, I said this to you, I'm gonna actually do this with weight. I've said to you guys before that eccentric loading can carry so much value in terms of improving your strength. So you can see, I have nothing to prove here. This side's really a lot harder for me. I was able to do the other side with 12. This side, not so much. Working on it. I'm not giving myself an end date on that. It's just on the list for 2025. All right, guys, bird dog row. Bring it on down. I'm gonna go a little heavier on these myself. So, whatever knee is down, that is the weight that you're lifting. It's probably worth mentioning too, as you're doing this. Remember, the weight is not coming up into your armpit, it's going back towards the hip. Maybe you even feel that pause at the top. Invites a little more challenge. Good. I was so excited. I was like, just like got right into it on the next on the next set. Hold your horses, Jen. Ladies, and you're like, I don't know, like maybe one side is just a little trickier in terms of, because I can't see everybody, but I would imagine that I might see a little bit of struggle in some, which is totally fine. So if that's the case, maybe what you do is you put your knee down, but you do try to have the spirit of the exercise, right? Maybe the knee just kind of hovers off the ground a little bit. So that'd be another way to do it. And if that's really too much, you could certainly come into that kneeling plank and do it that style. There's, as I like to say, a little something for everybody, right? There's always a version of an exercise that we can find that is appropriate for you based on where you're at. All right, so you're up for that tricep extension modification, a little bit heavier, elbows a little bit lower. So again, as you can see, my range of motion is really minimal, a lot more minimal than a regular tricep extension, but that is by design. So you can see a little bit of a swing. I am still trying to get my arms straight at the top. Or pulled in. Again, as you pitch forward like this, you might feel some strain in your lower back. If you got to stand, then stand, take a break. Woo. Okay, we're going for one more round. It's too soon to give yourself a pat on the back, but we're almost there. We're almost there. All right. No, it's funny. I think I had reached out to you guys yesterday via email saying that I have a very beginner group starting in January, and I'm getting ready for that. And as you can imagine, there's just a lot of preparation for that. And Barb knows because we've been talking about that. In any case, I'm holding it. I decided I'm going to do an open house next week. And I know some of you guys I invited who are alumni of that program because I think it's important. We're doing our legs. I think it's important for people to know that, you know, the journey to starting a workout program has to start somewhere. We're certainly not starting with this level. Right? It's taken you guys a while to get here, right? But I do think, you know, you just have to, I was thinking about, you know, and I think I quoted Michelle and Judy in the email to say, you know, that stuff lands with folks, and think about like where you were when you had goals. Like sometimes, what is the thing that I'm going to need to hear to finally, pardon my expression, light a fire under my ass to get me to do the damn thing? And maybe it's being done. Maybe it's being part of a community. Maybe it's being part of a group. I think for a lot of people that is the case. Not everyone, not the right fit for everyone, but that's a little bit of my ramble. So anyway, I was up really early this morning working on that. My person that helps me with that stuff behind the scenes, like she does the landing pages and the website pages and stuff. She's like, you gotta get it to me Monday by 9. I'm like, okay. Okay. Planner lots of facets of my life, but I'm also a very in the moment person. So if I get an idea about something, I'm probably not gonna overthink it. I'm gonna, if it feels right in my bones, I'm just gonna get better. Definitely needs improvement. All right, here we go with our row, bird dog row. I can't wait to hear what you guys think of this one. We'll check in when we're done. Where there's, goodness. I got a new set of dumbbells and we had to, because they don't all fit on the big ones, don't all fit on the bottom. They're going out of order. Sure, I like it. Remember, if that knee in the air is not serving you, the key important thing to remember is that the hips are square. If you take nothing else away, it will be that. You can see I'm bending my knee on this one just because I keep kicking the weights back. Timer. Oh yeah. I'm curious to know, did you increase the weight on this round? Did you get a little more adventurous? It's okay if you didn't, but I want to bring it up because if you do track your weights, think about, be mindful about where you're training right now and think about that in terms of next week, because we're going to do the same workout again next week. Get excited. Got our triceps. Next. Matching set here. We're ready to go. That's it. Did I tell you I love my new big screen? I was like, that is gonna be something I need to have. I can see so much more detail. That's not to put you on the spot. It's just to say I can see you better. All right. I don't know about you guys, but I'm definitely feeling this a lot more in the third round, and I haven't changed my weights. They're the same. So this goes to show, whoo, hang on. And it's not so much about the exact weight that you're lifting, right? Many times it is the muscle group that you're training, right? It's like the volume, that kind of volume on triceps is a lot. It's a big ask. So all that to say, that was a great job. Look at us, 9:15 on the nose. You with me for a quick stretch? Okay, great. Go ahead and let me think about this for a second. If you have, let me walk you through this two different ways. If you have a yoga strap or even like a heavy resistance band, go ahead and grab it. And if you don't, I'll give you another alternative. Deal? Okay. Swell. Okay, so if you're using a band or a strap, great. If not, you can kind of pretend that you are. I've got my big red band, it's like my pull-up band. We're going to do this actually on our feet. Come on, ball, stay. That's not working very well. Swear we couldn't, yeah, we can't fit anything else in this room. Okay, so with your hands on either your band or your yoga strap, this is what I want you to do. You're gonna take a big breath in, you're gonna reach up over your head. Once you're there, you're gonna lean to the side and you're gonna pull with the downside arm. If you don't have a strap, you can use your hands, okay? It's a little more compressed, but it's definitely a possibility. So we're just trying to get that side bend, pulling on the down strap, holding for a breath or two. Or three. All right, and then we come back to center, and then we're going to go to the other side. Now, as you're moving into this side bend, do keep your core and your glutes engaged, part of the equation. Nice, come all the way back up. All right, go ahead and loop the band underneath your foot. Take your foot in front of you with a straight-ish leg, toes to shin, heel on the ground. Sit back like you're aiming towards a chair. if you want to give yourself a little bit of a pull on the band. Now, if you have a super stretchy resistance band and it's going all over the place, try not to overdo that. You just want it to give you a little bit of leverage to pull yourself into that hamstring stretch. Lots of different ways to do a hamstring stretch. If this does not work for you, you just rather use your hand, you can. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to take ourselves into a quad stretch with the strap. Oh, I don't know any of you guys in the Northeast, but man, did it get cold the past 48 hours. I'm just like, oh God. It's like every fiber of my being to force myself to go outside yesterday. But I did it. And say I admittedly, the way my mind goes is like, try to find something pleasant. Like, oh, the sky is pretty. Like, my face is freezing. Of course, I waited until like 4 o'clock in the afternoon, but all right, we're going to the other side. Yeah, so even though I'm trying to increase my step count this year, I get out with the dogs, admittedly, with 2 big dogs who like to sniff everything. I will call that walk more of a leisure walk. We're just doing the bare basics. It used to be, I'm gonna get quad stretch. It used to be, I used to take them where we live in Connecticut. There's a lot of like hiking trails and things like that. And I used to take them in there all the time off leash in like odd hours of the day where I was pretty sure nobody else would be in there. My dogs are very friendly, but not everybody likes dogs. Anyway, I got out of the habit of that mainly because in COVID, there were so many people in there at all hours of the day. So we just got out of the habit. And now, this is the past couple of years where I live, there's been a lot of bear sightings. So I'm like, yeah, well, then I'm into that. I'd like to avoid that. At least you know. I don't know that they have bears in Greenwich or not, but we had them walking down our street a couple weeks ago. So I was like, I want to test the waters there. All this to say, probably going to be a new type of habit. So guys, I'm here for a couple minutes. If you have any questions for me, anything you want to add, you want to check in any way.
Jen, it's Lisa.
Yes. Hi.
Hi. This is my first day back post-surgery. So I'm just, with regard to steps, that is something that I am trying to figure out. I'm actually trying to also figure out how to not only the steps, but also the cardio, balancing the cardio with the strength. It should be easier, and I'm a fairly intelligent
For
woman, but I
who?
can't seem to figure it out.
Yeah. I love this because, and this is part of one of you guys I sent you and I haven't had a chance to look over these Google Docs yet, but that's part of the reason I know it's this question Lizzie's asking me isn't behind it all, isn't just how I get more steps. It's how do I do all the things? At least that's what I'm hearing, right?
Exactly.
And I'm always really keyed into like when we use words like I should, when the truth is, it's like, okay, what is going to be important to you? Because you won't be able to do every single thing. So I would say, okay, let's dial it back. What is your personal goal? What's the end goal? And then you go from there. So for you, if you're feeling like, well, my end goal is just to simply get my steps up, then we start with just that. We want to keep the focus there. We don't want to be all over the place and start thinking about all the other things. Because I hear that all the time. Like, I'm a smart woman. I'm like, I know you are. But also try not to put too much pressure on yourself, because I would also say, especially when you're coming back from surgery or coming back from a hiatus or anything, and this will come up with, anybody who is a beginner, trying to take on too much is like a recipe for failure, because when you set the bar so high, it's very hard to hit that, very hard. So, but what the way our brains work to want to do that. We're like, yes, we feel like we're getting more out of it if we do more, if we do the most. But the truth is, for compliance and overall habit change, it's the small wins that make the most difference.
And I hear what you're saying, Jen. It's just the fact that, like, I feel like, and I don't imagine I'm alone in this, is that for so many years, I keep having the same desire. And when it doesn't happen, like making those small changes feels like it's just not going to be enough in order for me to get there. And then I feel almost like helpless or hopeless in this area. And it doesn't make sense when intellectually I can read and I can know what I'm supposed to do,
Mhm.
but putting the pieces together for some reason, I haven't been able to do that and find success.
You want to know what the antidote to that is?
Yes.
Because I hear what you're saying. I have the secret sauce. You ready? No,
Yes, please.
it's really, and I'm not trying to be funny. It's developing a show of evidence for yourself that you can actually do more with less. So for instance, if you're in that loop, what I'm hearing you saying is I'm in that mindset loop of always setting these big goals for myself and constantly feeling like I'm disappointed. And really the way out of that is to say, I need to get curious about that, to say, okay, so what would happen if I just said to myself, okay, Lisa, this week, like how many start with like maybe how many steps let's say steps are a goal, right? How many steps have I been getting? All right, I've been averaging like 3,000. What if this week, what if this week I could just demonstrate to myself that I can get to 4,000? Like super freaking small. A whole week. I'm not talking one day. I'm talking like I'm saying give yourself a week and go, all right, where am I now? You might be very surprised to find what that does to your brain, especially if you can release the need to hit the big goals. We're not trying to climb Mount Everest. We're not trying to run the New York Marathon. We're just trying to increase steps. But by the way, insert whatever your goal is. My goal, I also joke, my goal was steps, but also increasing my fiber. Last week, I was great at it. Why? Because I planned. Was there a day I was not so great? Yeah, absolutely. But the mindset is like, okay, today wasn't that great of a day. Why was it not that great of a day? There were multiple reasons why it was maybe harder for me to do it. That's okay. It doesn't mean the week as a whole was a failure. Doesn't mean I'm not putting one foot in front of the other to the goals. But what I did and what I'm encouraging anybody to do with this is to really take a more micro approach to a goal and really like dumb it down in a lot of ways, make it small and start to develop evidence for yourself that you can do the smaller thing, because what that does to your brain is like, especially if you stay with it, you're like, oh, all right, if I did 25 grams of fiber 5 days a week, surely I can do that. I've just developed a show of evidence for myself that I can do that, and that in and of itself a win. Or I've shown to myself that I can go from 3,000 steps to 4,000 steps, and that's a win, because then you can go, oh, I want to do more. I want to do more with that. If I may share a personal story, I don't know why my mind just did this. So back when I first started strength training, and it was, back in the late 80s, where it was little tiny, and Barb knows this, little tiny pink weights, right? Lots of pulses. And that's where I started too. Did anybody remember the firm workouts? Did anybody have the firm? Like I did the firm, all of that. I remember they had this workout. It was like a 12-minute workout. I would repeat it 3 times because I was like, I just want to, full. But anyway, that was kind of where I started. But that, when I was, I felt like, oh, that was a great start, but I'm ready. Now that I've done this, I'm ready for more. This is not, I feel like I'm ready to level up. But if I had started with hour-long strength training programs that left me sore for days or injured or not knowing what the hell I was doing, I probably wouldn't have stuck with it. And it's that kernel, I think, also of like a desire. And that desire is like, is it something that you enjoy? Or does it feed into a greater sense of like your own vision for yourself later on? Or who the person you're trying to be? I mean, I think it's a different conversation we're having now at this stage of life, right? Because you're like, okay, well, I'm not, I am getting older. So maybe the future vision looks a little, looks different. It might look different than it did, say, when we were in our 20s, 30s, 40s. But I do think you can still hold a vision and, develop those small little micro goals to start to work you towards that end. But we really do have to be careful about taking too much on. I used to do this all the time. I used to do this at the beginning of every year. This is back like in my 30s when I was running. I would sign up for like all of these races to keep me accountable with my running. I'm like, I'm gonna run anyway. But I felt like I needed that dopamine hit of the thing to work towards. But when we're constantly chasing that, we're always going to come up short, because that in and of itself is a bit of an addiction. It's like, oh, you're setting yourself unrealistic standards so you can drum up that feeling that makes you feel motivated, but you're not actually accomplishing anything. You're just thinking about it. And it's robbing you of a lot, not you directly, but us, of a lot of time that we could spend if we just narrow the scope. Like you're an artist. in order for you to finish a piece of art, you can't be working on 20 different things at once.
Right.
You've got to, if you want to finish that piece, you've got to focus. And yes, of course, things are going to come up, but you also, I would imagine, have a mindset of like, all right, bring it back, bring it back to what we're working on, you know, like, I think, is this helpful at all?
It definitely is. It definitely is. I think maybe I'm more thinking in my former lawyer mindset as opposed to the artist mindset. So, but yes, and I mean, I am also harder on myself and have higher expectations for myself than I do for others. So this is not new, but I'm just tired of not succeeding in this. And I really want this to be, I mean, I'll tell people who, I mean, I'm a little embarrassed to say this, but I'll say it. My son, who is now 16, he had his bar mitzvah at 13. I have not looked at the pictures from his bar mitzvah because I didn't like the way I looked. And my youngest son is getting bar mitzvah in August. And I want, I don't want that to happen. And it sounds so selfish and horrible. So please don't judge me. But it is, that is a sad statement. So I need to find, even if it's little successes, I need to find some
Mhm.
successes so that I can feel like I'm moving in the right direction. And I feel like I've been revving my engines for a long time and not making forward movement. And that's very frustrating.
Mhm. I think, everything, a lot of things that you're saying to me, and I'm going to reach out to you after the call too, just because I have a
Don't feel
thought.
obliged. And I'm sorry. I'm sorry,
No,
everybody.
why be sorry? That's why we're here. I mean, this is, again, this is, we're not one-on-one coaching, but you're opening yourself up in a way that's vulnerable, but I think also in a way that a lot of people can relate to. I'm seeing a lot of heads nodding on the screen. So I get it. And and Barb probably gets this too. It's like, we've been coaches for a long time. We have heard, a lot of these struggles are similar. One of the things that for me as a coach, what's kept me in the game is not, yes, I love creating workouts and I love challenging my clients, but I also love challenging you intellectually about the way that we approach our habits and what can help you be successful versus not. But like what I hear what you're saying, we already know that lack of self-compassion ain't the way. Right. Think about that in terms of like, I have a dog, right? If for every interaction, I'm not making making an analogy, but or a child, if every interaction that you have with that other being is a negative one, that does not support motivation. But gentle self-compassion, caring, finding new ways of doing things, giving yourself grace, all of those. And I know that when you're like with any habit, if your go-to is to be self-critical, then absolutely it's very, very I always think of it like, it's like water in a stream. Like that's just where the water goes. That's just where our brains work. That's just how our our neurochemicals work. And so patterns of behavior, patterns of thought, they are, absolutely things that everybody struggle with, myself included. I mean, I think it was interesting. I was cleaning out a closet. I was going through some journals and stuff like that. I'm like, oh, I don't know if I want to read this, but it reminded me, it was a good reminder of, in many ways, how far I've come in some of this stuff that I also have experienced, being incredibly hard on myself, having unrealistic standards, all of that. So I've been there, I don't talk about that all that much to folks, but I get it because, and it shows up differently for all of us. Right. So I think, I'll reach out to you later because I have some thoughts too that we can, take up off the call. But all this to
Well, thank you
say,
for listening, Jen,
yeah.
and thank you, everyone. It
And
started my morning
also,
off well.
exactly. I was going to say before we leave that, we'll leave on that note, but like, give yourself, for like I talk about the, accomplishing those micro goals, is to say, hey, start by giving yourself a pat on the back for what you did do. If you just come back from surgery, that is literally, I would say, the fork in the road where people literally fall off, especially at our age. They're like, I can't do it anymore. I had a conversation with somebody, one of my husband's golf friends the other day, who is like a year older than me, but he's stuck in this loop of like, he's old now. And therefore, everything's just going to fall apart. I'm like, yeah, well, if you don't do anything about it, it will. I was very frank with you. I'm like, absolutely, and you have a choice. And so to you, Lisa, you showed up, you did the thing, you put yourself out there. That is a massive win to me. Like, remember to celebrate that, because that's not easy to do. There's always going to be something, you know, competing for your attention, for your desire to do something else, all of that. So thank you for sharing that.
Have a good
Yeah,
night,
Lisa,
everybody.
thank
Thank you.
So I
Wow.
feel what you said so profoundly. I've been there, and I just wanted to thank you for being vulnerable with us. But I also want to share that I'm in Illinois, and we just got like dumped on with snow. And my husband is out of town, and he's sad he's missing the snow, and I'm sad that he's not here to shovel our driveway. And our driveway massive. And I spent probably 2.5 hours shoveling yesterday, and I have another round to do today. And when I went to bed, I'm like, oh, I'm probably gonna have to skip that live workout. I'm just gonna be wrecked. But I'm not. And I think it's because of workouts. So I just wanted to share that.
I
Nice
love
job.
that. I love hearing that. I got a message yesterday from Wendy, who's been, she's been with us since Straight Up Strength back in March. And she's like, I just started back to skiing. She does ski patrol. And she was like, holy shit, I feel so strong. I'm like, that's why we do it. I mean, we can, and that's not to say you can't have aesthetic goals too. Make no mistake. I get it. Like, I think we're females. We want to look as good as we can, but I do think that there's something very powerful and like, okay, but I'll also take the feeling like a badass and shoveling my driveway too, like, and not ending up sore for days like that. That has value. That has a lot of value too. And also I think it feeds into other concepts like self-efficacy as you age, think about that. Like, think about Sue Randy's still on here. She's not. She's a client from here in Connecticut that I've known her for like 20 years. And I remember her telling me about her mother-in-law was still doing her own yard work and landscaping like into her 80s, and you look at people like that and you go, yeah, there's a reason why they have a zest and vibrancy for life. It's not always easy, but it's because they're doing the things. I think a lot of modern life conveniences, technology being one of them, has made us, move less. It's just because things are just so much easier. So definitely topics for another, definitely could go off on this for a while, but Andrea, thank you for sharing that. And I too am glad you're not sore. I hope you're enjoying it. I almost wish it was going to be this cold here that we would actually get some snow too, but.
Oh, it's beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but it's hard work too.
It is. You got to get a little nap in the afternoon.
And I didn't get very many steps doing it either. That kind of irritated me because I thought it would get my step goal up a lot, but I didn't get very many steps. I don't know.
Oh no, because you're in one place. But you know what? It still counts. The step count is really more, and this is just for anybody. So you guys probably already know this, but the step count really is just more analogous to more movement, right? Just more movement. And that movement, by the way, is me using my hands. Andrea shoveling. I was cooking in my kitchen yesterday, doing like a massive, I've cleaned out my fridge, my pantry. I did just cooked literally everything that I could because I'm a busy week. I'm like, wow, I just 6,000 steps on my watch just cooking. Seriously? But all this to say, and chopping and doing all those things. So it's just activity, the more energy that your body uses, actually the better in that way, in a low stress way, is actually a really, really good thing. So we took down the tree yesterday. It was a big day. Big day.
Jen,
Lisa or Andrea, I live in Wisconsin, so I just want to say thanks for taking the snow. We didn't get any. It missed us and went to you guys.
You guys didn't get any. All right, Emmanuel, go ahead. You were.
yeah, speaking about movement, I don't have a walking pad in my office, but I've spent my whole weekend rearranging my whole office, and I have a mini trampoline. So I was moving, rearranging, but now I have this little. Do you think those? It's like a baby little trampoline thing. Does that do anything in terms of movement? Because
Yeah. Well, you're moving. You're
Okay.
moving.
yeah,
Or
no
do you
steps, but
Yeah.
rebound.
Do you remember urban rebounding? Did
Sure,
you ever see that
okay.
workout, urban rebounding? I would get off that teaching that thing and I feel like I just got off a boat. No, but to your point, actually, and there is some research actually around rebounding that it's good for your lymphatic system.
Okay.
Anything, you guys, anything that has you moving. You could get up and do 100 squats an hour, or jumping jacks or whatever. It all counts. It all counts. And you think about it like too, in terms of, and I'll just leave you guys with this, a lot of times, if you have like a fat loss goal, the mindset, especially of our generation, is like, you just need to do more cardio. You just need to sweat. And while that might be part of it, the problem with that, why it can be tricky, is that, especially if your nutrition isn't dialed in, if you start upping and increasing your activity level a lot, initially you might drop some weight, but over time, if you're not eating enough to support the activity that you have, your metabolism is going to adjust to that. And what can happen is that the more cardio that you're doing, especially higher intensity cardio, and you're not backing that up with nutrition, it's going to drive your hunger hormones. So I say that because I know a lot of ladies that I talk to have a weight loss goal. And this is why I'm always saying, let your first two priorities be maintaining your muscle mass, because that's going to give you the most metabolic bang for your buck when you are cooking dinner, shoveling snow, or even just laying on the couch. Getting the steps and the daily activity in as a whole, whether they come through steps, rebounding, cooking dinner, whatever it is, but just the general movement, because that movement, as far as caloric expenditure, actually amounts to more, especially when you have more muscle mass, than 45 minutes on a spin bike. And not a lot of people know that. Michelle, I bet you have experienced this with long distance training. I'm not saying long distance training is bad, but what I am saying is that if you want to do it well and you want to perform, and you also have a fat loss goal, you need to have your nutrition on point. And it doesn't necessarily mean always eating eating less and less, because like for Michelle doing triathlons, if she's going to go out for a 5-6 mile run, she has to make sure she's fueled for that. And your body will continue to play this game of prompting you like, hey, you need to eat more, because as you become a more attuned athlete, you feel it. You're like, why don't I have energy? So, that is again part of a larger conversation for sure. But I think if you guys want some in the app, when you go into the on-demand section at the bottom, the section where it's the coaching calls, I think I put fat loss fundamentals in there. So if you want to just listen to that again, so I don't repeat myself. I know sometimes we gotta hear it again, but I gotta hear it again too. Remind myself. So anyway, somebody's got a rebounder in there. Somebody on an iPhone. I don't know who that is, but because it says iPhone, I can't see who it is. Anyway, my screen moves around. Is it Laurence? Am I right? Okay, good. Got it. So you guys think I don't know. All right. So I think that's all I got for you today. I got to go hop in the shower and I have a meeting at 10. So Lisa, I will reach out in the app.
Thank you. And thank you,
All
everybody.
right.
Happy New
Take
Year.
care. Bye.